The Grapevine Gathering Music Festival has been cancelled just 4 days before it was due to take place in the Hunter Valley. Organisers say it is due to the New South Wales government's sudden change to restrictions. Chief Health Officer Kerry Chant signed off on the new order on Monday afternoon. The new clause states no person sings or dances on the premises other than a person performing at the festival. Until Tuesday, the ban was for indoor activities only. Last Friday, Premier Dominic Perrottet gave major events the go-ahead, saying high-risk events would be reviewed.
Have a major event planned throughout January, continue as planned. There are no changes to any of those events. They are continuing as planned. Only in circumstances where New South Wales Health deems that event to be a high-risk event, then we will contact those organisers and work through the current COVID-safe plans with you.
Joining me live now is Julia Robinson, Managing Director of the Australian Festivals Association. Julia, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. What a shambles this is for event organisers.
Yeah, look, we're just going into another year of cancellations and postponements, disruptions on an industry that's already been brought to its knees. They've had no income or little to no income for so many years now, so many seasons having to cancel. It's just an absolute nightmare for organisers, suppliers, the crew, and also the fans. Festival fans have been holding on to tickets now since 2019, some of them, and even earlier really with the bushfire cancellations as well. So it's a real devastation.
Now, what does the Australian Festivals Association want to get out of the government? I have to say, it's quite a confusing message right now. We've got on Friday the Premier saying no major events are going ahead, and just on Monday the Chief Health Officer signs off on a new clause saying no, they're not.
Yeah, look, that's right. I mean, we have been calling for insurance since way back in 2020. So insurance is one of our number one asks from government, and in particular, we're looking for a national scheme. From New South Wales last year, they did announce an event saver scheme that was supposed to be in place for this exact thing. So when a public health order disrupts an event significantly, we're still waiting on those details, and we do still, keenly await the information that will help give organisers some certainty. But as you've pointed out, it's a bit of mixed messaging. So, on Friday, one story is told, and then on Monday it's changed again. It's really hard when you're in a planning cycle of 12 to 18 months for some organisers for their festivals to change everything or make decisions to cancel in just a matter of days, especially in the circumstances that the event is already bumped in. You're looking at costs in the tens of thousands sort of, per hour that you're on site. Cancelling at the sort of last minute really costs a lot of money. It's really disheartening to all the crew that have worked really hard to get that event up and running after not being able to do their job for a couple of years. So we're really looking for a safety net if in the event that these events have to be cancelled. We understand that safety is really paramount, but in the event that they are cancelled, we're looking for some support. And we are looking for a national insurance scheme because these events don't just happen in a vacuum in the state that they're operating in. They're really connected to an ecosystem that is national. So we again call on the federal government to look at an insurance scheme. They have just announced the extension of the insurance scheme for the film industry just today, but we have been asking for this since back in July of 2020.
Now, Julia, let's talk about the Grapevine Gathering at Roche Estate in the Hunter Valley. That was scheduled to go ahead on Saturday, so we've only just heard the cancellation 4 days out. Have you spoken to the event organisers of the Grapevine Gathering?
Yeah, so I speak to a number of event organisers. In fact, the last 3 days is kind of all I've been doing is speaking to organisers and suppliers of festivals like the Grapevine Gathering, including those guys. And, the devastation is real that they were able to get a show up and running only to see it cancel again. And we've seen this time and time again during this pandemic, shows cancelling and the crew having worked so hard and tirelessly to put on these shows and see it sort of go to waste. And then there's also the artists that may have been, booked for this show and then they're now cancelled. They won't be able to pick up another show in time. So it's just devastation across the board.
I want to speak about Western Australia. I'm here in Perth, WA. Over the Christmas New Year period, the events and music industry was decimated by the Premier Mark McGowan changing restrictions over just a handful of cases. How are we ever going to move on from this and start actually living with the virus so these major events can go ahead properly?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, actually. In WA, that was the first state to announce some kind of support by way of insurance for events that are cancelled. It actually was able to test that policy over the Christmas and New Year's period, and the advice that I was given from some of our members in WA is that process wasn't actually fit for purpose. So it does just point to the fact that if we want to live with COVID, if we want to see our society and our communities get amongst the live music and living with COVID, we need to have some assurances. So we need to have insurance in place so that we can cancel in the event that it's not safe to proceed. But if it is safe to proceed, that there's no sort of confusion or concern that the organisers might have to fork out, additional money in the case that they have to postpone or something like that.
Managing Director of the Australian Festivals Association, Julia Robertson, thanks so much for your time. And of course, we are thinking of your members that have had to cancel events in the last week or so. Moving forward, hopefully we start to learn to live with this virus.
Thanks so much for having me.